Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fialka. Today is September 13, 2023. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Want to thank Frank Zappa for getting me and Pat together somehow, somewhere. And indeed, it is an honor and a pleasure to be here with Pat Towne today. Where in the heck you calling in from, Pat?
I'm from the heart of Los Angeles, California. I'm about
like
3 blocks away from the farmer's market.
The heart of LA. I like that. And what is the best thing for a human being?
The best thing for a human being, I think, love and laughter. How about that?
Oh, I love that. That is two of my favorite things. So, what is your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Oh boy, I think it depends on the nature of the information. Like if I want news, I usually go to NPR or the BBC. That's I like those. My wife grabs the Sunday Times, New York Times, which is fun. But yeah, NPR I listen to for news. But information on other stuff, there's just, if I wanted to find information on anything, I just hit the web and see where go surfing around, But not
Why do you say it again?
Not for news.
Not for news on the web. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
And why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Well, wow, I don't know. There's a wide variety of responses. Power, knowledge, education makes life better. I think there's any number of reasons why.
Well, those three were good. By the way, you being closer, your sound is way better. That's good.
Great. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so is this need or want to collect information more innate or more invented?
Well, innate. I mean, since as soon as we came to figure out things, I think people have wanted to pick up things and say, what is this and how does it work and what do I do with it? Rocks and sticks and until and now we got this.
Yeah. That's the thing that Kubrick had in the 2001 movie.
That nobody knows that the big monolith was actually a cell phone, and he was way ahead of his time.
And Frank made fun of Frank Zappa made fun of the monolith in the movie 200 Motels.
Oh yeah.
You know that. Oh, that's good. Very good.
I saw 200 Motels a long time ago. I think I saw it when I was in college in some dorm.
Whoops. You froze up a little there. Let's hope you come back. Okay, you're still frozen. Well, I can see you, but there you go. You're back now. Okay. So you saw 200 Motels. You saw 200 Motels in your dorm. Yeah. And so do thoughts create emotions?
Do thoughts create emotions? Well, you have to define thoughts and you have to define emotions. If it's electrical stimuli buzzing around your nervous system, that's one thing. If you want to get more esoteric and subjective about it, it's another thing.
Well, that's good, Pat. And again, you put them into the context you want. But let's go to this. I don't know what I think until I fill in the blank.
Know more about it.
Know more about it. That's interesting because that's knowledge again, which you brought up, that word. McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. So it's interesting. You put the verb know as the verb. I don't know what I think until I know more about it.
Yeah. Well, I think that languaging something is that's our job. I think that a lot of times with plays, movies, whatever, we say things that or create scenarios or ideas or stories that people may have felt, but they didn't really know how to express it. And then somebody puts it into words, and then we go, "Oh, that's it. That's what I've been thinking that whole time." You know, that's when somebody puts it into words, it makes it concrete. It makes it human. That's the distinction being the human beings are. We're people who have language, or creatures who have language.
Pat, you're amazing. You got ESP. You anticipate 2 questions coming up, and then it's exactly the next one. Can humans think without language?
Well, let me ask you this. It's hard for me to answer that because I'm thinking, well, do dogs think? Do cows? Do flies? Do amoeba? Do they think? Again, how do you define it? Is it electrical impulses rattling around the brain stem or whatever goes for brain on the creature we're talking about? You know, so my first instinct is to say yes, because I feel like if I look at my cat or something and have their focus somewhere, I make up that they're thinking about something. You know?
Yeah.
No.
That's anthropomorphizing. That's interesting. But we want to think they're thinking.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and that's good. And it's like Lily Tomlin said, reality's just a collective hunch. So, you win, Pat. You win. You answered a question with a question to start off, and that's what I like the best is inventing new questions. And so, again, it's like all these. It's your hunch or your impulse. The word you use, electrical impulse, is brilliant. Chomsky says a language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
Music.
Wow. That's good answer, dude.
Simple as that. Music, I mean, there's so many more eloquent ways of languaging what music does to people, but everybody knows that when their song plays or their piece of music plays, theirs, that one that sends them to another place, they know the power that it has.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Your observations of humans in general, Pat, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
Oh, boy. That's tough. I don't know, man. I don't know how to answer that. I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes that feelings can overwhelm thought in that, something that you feel. I guess the simplest thing I'm going to say is like you're in love with a girl, but the relationship doesn't work. And she's laid out reason after reason after reason and logical thinking of why this has never worked. And you go, yeah, honey, you are right. You're absolutely right. But I can't be without you because I love you. So, how does that? I think emotions overwhelm thoughtfulness time to time. Yeah.
Yeah, Pat, what you're doing is what I'm after. It's me and you versus the wording on the questions. I love it when people change the verb, like overwhelm and of course it's both. We invented thinking, the words thinking and feeling, so we think we can separate them. You can't separate them, and you should feel comfortable by saying, I don't know, or I can't answer that. Don't feel I'm trying to put you on the spot. So you really get what I'm after. I appreciate this a lot. So here's 2 questions from Alan Turing, 1950s. Is thinking a function of the soul?
Oh, that's wild. I don't quite know how to answer that. A function of the soul? No. My first instinct is to say no. It reveals the soul.
Yeah, reveals us. Again,
because I'm saying, look at you over in the corner. You look sad. You look happy. Tell me what's going on for you. And then you have to language try your best to language the feeling that you're having. So I think it reveals your soul. That's the best I got.
You're a wordsmith. Very good. The second Turing question is, can machines think?
Well, not yet, but I think I'm not going to say no. I don't think that they're there yet, but I don't. I there was a time when I thought there will never be a sentient machine, a machine that's aware of its own existence, to the degree that it wants to take rights, to wants to have rights. Now
Yeah.
I don't know. Now I
Yeah.
don't know. The way that the way and the speed with which computerizing systems and the way that it works now, I don't know. And here's the other. I think there's a corollary question to this: will we be able to tell the difference? I mean, like if a lot of times it's difficult for us right now to discern the difference between a student's dissertation about the Civil War or an AI generated dissertation about the Civil War.
Exactly.
I think some people can read it right now and discern. Oh well, obviously this is an AI generated thing. You can see here and here and here. I'm thinking, okay, well you've just assisted the AI in correcting that. That thing that look, and so because that's what computers continually do. So yeah, I
really good.
Not yet, but
Beautiful. It's also Back to Joe's Garage by Frank Zappa. Pluke me now, you savage rascal.
right, right.
Okay.
79 we saw that, and now they're making machines. They're making machines so close to the human being. Like Japan's got it going, I guess. They got the dolls, I
The
guess.
Miss Pinky dolls. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, you can rent Miss Pinky dolls, which Frank wrote a song about on Zoodalures. Right. You can rent Pinky dolls instead of a real female at the, whorehouses in Sweden now. You have a choice.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
I think where it gets really frightening as far as the AI computer thing, because we say AI is not creating real stuff, right?
Yeah.
It looks like it's real and it smells like it's real, but that's not real. That was generated by a computer, so it's not real. So that picture that looks so real is not really a picture. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But what if it's a picture of a child being raped?
Yeah.
That some person gets off on watching.
Yeah.
Are we going to set up a same system of laws to stop that out in the name of, because obviously we don't want kids being raped or kids being abused like that. So when we see pictures of it, actual pictures, we say that has to stop. We need to protect those children from those groups. And I'm going, okay, valid, of course.
Yep.
Now, what if it's a picture of that?
Yeah.
What if it's an AI generated picture? What if it's a cartoon? Is that, how is that, are we, I don't know, but Congress better get busy because it's coming fast.
Dude, you brought up so many topics that, this was a kid who did gross cartoons in Florida many years ago was told by the judge, you can't do your cartoons. That was against he can do his cartoons in his bedroom and he can sell. Okay, you can't sell them. No, you can't tell a person not to create art. But it happened in America. So there are this fudging of the laws. And if you're a film archivist, you can collect snuff films, which are on YouTube already now. You can collect children pornography. If you're not an archivist.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Snuff films are on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. Anyways, I mean, I don't know that for certain, but I know there's, anyways. If they're not, I'm sorry I said it. I've heard
easily out there to find, I think is your point.
That's what I'm saying. There you can buy it. And so it's just like if you're a film archivist, you can have child porn footage in your archive. If you're a bad human being, you get thrown in jail. So there's so much weird fine line stuff. What if the cops come to your door and go, dude, I'm a film archivist here. I graduated from a film library science.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of what humans make, and then what humans can have a machine make is a huge issue. No one's taken that question farther, Pat. So I really salute you. They just go, can machines think? And they go that. But you're saying, will we be able to tell the difference? You know.
Yeah.
And so that's you've expanded. See, what I want to do is expand. I don't want people just to answer these questions. I want to expand the wording and the questions. I want us to grow as question and answer. So
Well,
here's the next.
okay, go ahead.
Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Oh, happiness. I think meaning is ephemeral, and I think it can change. The meaning of what is so for you and your life can change drastically as you age.
Yeah.
I mean, you got kids?
I don't, but it's funny that the way you said it, because I got the question from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And he says that happiness tends to be more ephemeral and meaning tends to last. So again, there's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions. And it was so great to hear someone says meaning is ephemeral.
Meaning is ephemeral. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not like, happiness is something that you pursue, like the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
We don't say it in the, is it the Constitution that says this? No, I think it's the Declaration of Independence says that we want to pursue happiness.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to be happy 24 hours a day.
Right.
But in general, can you look back on your life and go, yeah, I'm a pretty happy guy.
Yeah. And it's also, the verb pursue. It's like, that people often challenge that verb. The question is happiness and meaning, and then the verb. So here's the next one. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
I don't know. It seems like it's all one to me. I don't get the distinction really.
Yeah. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Well, again, it's how you define thought. If you define thought as the electrical impulses traveling from one synapse to another to bouncing around there, those electrical impulses going around in your brain travel at the speed of light. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
You mean it's the same? Speed of light and speed of thought are probably the same.
I would think so, yeah.
Okay. Audre Lorde, the poet, said, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Yvonne Rainer responded and said, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest?
Well, that's like Einstein saying, the problems that we have are not solvable by the thinking that we have.
Yeah.
To get there. Tools. I don't know. I would say that, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's the, just, you see Oppenheimer.
Haven't seen it yet, but go ahead.
Well, it's fascinating. And then I just recently I listened to a podcast about Werner von Braun, the guy who created the U-2 rockets to just fly from Germany to England. And then once the war was over, the United States picked him up and said, "Oh, Nazi schmatzi, come send us to the moon."
Right.
So meaning that scientific pursuit is never dependent, I think, on the moral question of its use. Science is just science. We're going to find, look, you can split an atom. And it's not the scientist's job necessarily to say, well, should you?
Yeah.
Should you do that? It doesn't matter. Even if you're morally opposed to it and don't think that we should have had the bomb, somebody was going to have the bomb. Somebody was. That's done deal. So, what's the question?
Well, it's really what tool do you gravitate towards?
Yeah.
You can use the descriptive word new or not.
Yeah. So I would say that given that science has no moral responsibility in the science of science, but I would think and I would hope that human beings in the long run want to see whatever tool they have as a tool for growth for the race of humans.
Good.
And it's because every tool that you'll ever get anywhere that's ever been invented at all ever has always been weaponized, if it's any good.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I was just going to say, not far from where you live, an ex-Nazi dude was hired to start the first TV station in LA.
Right?
Channel 5 was started by an ex-Hitler employee.
Is that right? KTLA?
Oh, yeah. That's
No
not
kidding.
that is no kooky conspiracy theory. You can look it up. Anyways, it's all good because it's like what you were saying is this separation. You're sort of like separate the art from the artist a little there, you know.
Bit, yeah.
If we're going to advance with science, if we're going to advance with art, you know, blah, blah. So here's the next question to follow up that. What new toy do you suggest?
Oh, boy, toys. Well, I don't know, man. I feel like now, and I think it, of course, goes in waves, but I think that the human experience is finally going, this is not good for me to be at 24 hours a day, or this, or this, or this, you know? and just because it is actually another world. It really takes you another world. So I'm thinking the newest, latest, greatest tool is get outside, go for a fucking walk, and go even better, because I think this is becoming a lost art, is, general kindness and courtesy to your fellow human being, a stranger. Yes. Hello, please, and thank you. You know, I mean, I know I sound like a crazy old coot or something.
No, that's manners. That's respect for others. Dude, that was amazing. It's like, Pat, you really get what I'm after, and I'm having so much fun, but I'm learning a lot. Oh, so good. Here's a doozy. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Oh, no. Well, I don't know. If I had something to worry about when I go to bed at night, I probably wouldn't fall asleep. I don't want to worry about it. There'll be plenty of time, and it will certainly hit me in the face in the morning. But if I got to go to sleep.
Yeah. Okay. Marshall McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound, the poet, that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So I asked you the question that Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Why do we ignore what?
Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't think it's all that fair of a question. Why do we ignore that cars kill people? They do. They kill people on the road. And I'm like, yeah, but they get us around, and we've never gotten around before. Yes, right. You're right, and that's why we need to be safer with cars. But
yeah,
I don't want anybody to use that argument for guns. So guns kill people. Guns are designed to harm. Cars are not designed to harm.
Yeah,
hammer is not designed to harm you, but it can be used to harm you. But I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Like, a hammer can kill people. I'll show you. In Kansas City, some wife beat her husband to death with a hammer. I'm like, Yeah, agree.
Yeah,
But we have
Pat,
to have hammers to,
yeah,
it's how you use the tool. It's not the tool.
Pat, do you know Mark Twain's line? When you have a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail.
Yes, yes.
No, that was good because it leads in, yeah, it leads into this. Do artists have moral obligation?
Oh boy. To whose morality, my friend?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I would like to think that I'm a moral person, but I have certainly done, and I did Joe's Garage, but certainly I told my mom she's not going to see that because she would have moral objections to the piece itself, and that would preclude her from getting the satire that's underneath. I
Yeah.
can't see this satirical brilliance because all I see is obscenity.
Yeah.
So it's whose morality you talking about, man?
Yeah. It's good. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Old.
Yeah. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Yeah, I remember. I think I was. Yes, yes. A couple that I have of really early memories. I was like 2.5, and my family went to Washington D.C. and my brothers and my dad were climbed up the Washington Monument, and I wanted to go. And I remember sitting with my mom and saying, she's saying, "No, it's too high, it's too hard." And I was like, "It's too hard." And I thought, well, it's just steps. I don't know. I don't know. This is a concept I had, and so I dreamt up that there must be how to. You have to go over some kind of hurdles to climb that up high. It's not. It's not. It can't be just steps. It has to be something hard, and that's why I can't go. And the
Right.
other one was we went to the New York World's Fair in '64, and I remember getting a hat. I remember that very well.
Nice. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
You know, I think it's a blessing given that old saw, those who forget about history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
So let's remember history. You know, I mean, I had this kind of experience with 9/11, and I heard some guy saying, we always say never forget, and we have all the celebrations and the things that commemorate it, but we
Yeah.
forget it. Yeah.
Tell me someone within your immediate family, then outside your immediate family, just briefly, who had an impact on you, kind of like a role model, and what specifically was that impact?
A family member. Well, one thing comes to mind. I had an uncle who was at the time of his retirement, he was the highest ranking enlisted person in the U.S. Navy when he retired. He was I forget what the rank is called. And then I remember sitting with him, and he would tell me stories, World War II stories. And I think what gets lost now in this land that we are in now is the honor and the commitment that people who devote themselves and devote their lives to protect us, even when we're shoving a finger in their face, that I think is big. I don't like that we have a military. I don't like military things. I, like Einstein, find them a little bit detestable, but I understand the need to have somebody up on that wall, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that all too often in the politics of it and the recklessness of the people who are responsible for putting them in harm's way, the politicians who say, you go there and do this in the name of the country. And I'm like, that ain't, I think that's that break is that I find that division in the country to be the most one of the more hurtful things about it. I really do. I think it's amazing that I don't know that I could lay down my life for a nebulous concept called America. You know what I mean? And,
oh yeah.
and I have so many problems with America, and my son even more. But I still have an affection for it, and I am still very grateful that there are people willing to do that. You know what I mean? And I might not agree with it politically, but that the honor of that work, and appreciating the commitment of somebody to do that, I think is the thing. One of the things it gets cloudy in the political morass.
No, that was good. Now, outside your immediate family, same question.
I'll tell you what, I have a friend of mine, just saw her the other night. She's 83 years old, 84. And we've known her for a long time, and she is our aging mentor. We met her. I am of the age now that she was when we met her. And so, and she's been like the third grandmother, but she's an aging mentor, meaning that the way she has handled age and aging and coming to terms with it and accepting it, and not only accepting it, but embracing it and being enlivened by it. And I'll typify it in this one thing that she just did recently. Her first and only tattoo that she ever got.
Wow.
Is right here. And she got it about 3 months ago. Right here.
Wow.
And it says DNR. And for your listeners who may not know, that means do not resuscitate. So if there's any question when she's laying on the table about, oh my God, she's slipping away, should we resuscitate her? I don't know, Jack. Look at her sternum. It says DNR. I think the lady made a request. So let's honor that. And I thought that was beautiful. And I got too much hair on my chest. I might have to shave it away because I thought it was the same damn thing. That's just elegant.
Yeah, that is, Pat, that's amazing, because I want to look up, you can look up on the internet, what does DNR stand for? And it will show you like 30 things that it stands for, so you can see the two guys are standing over going, well, which one is it?
Well, I think they'll know if she's sick or ailing or lying prone, and they go, well, I think we know what that means. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
No, my father was an agnostic. Mom was a Christian. So I did go to church. I did get dumped in the water, but I would not call myself Christian. When we had kids, we took them to a Unitarian church, Unitarian Universalist church. For those of you out there, go ahead and look it up. Thomas Jefferson thought America would be Unitarians after a while, but that didn't work out. But anyway, my mom, because my parents were divorced when I was young. And so my mom took me to church Sundays, and I did the Sunday school thing for a while. It's more community and kids hanging out with, but I wouldn't call myself Christian now. I adore the teachings of Jesus Christ, but I was not a Christian, although raised one, I would say.
Do you pray, Pat?
See, you got to define pray. See, like, again, I'm very much a behavioralist. Okay, meaning that if I see someone who's on their knees and has their palms up like this and has their head bowed, I am going to make up that they're praying, right? But actually what's happening is that human being is putting themselves in a position where they are trying to come to peace, I think, with the world and the way it is, and find that I don't believe in dogmatic religion. I do believe in the pursuit of a spirit, of spirituality, of finding, because, like you said, the soul. What is that? I don't know. There's so many fucking definitions of it. Who knows? But exploring it, looking into it, wondering about it, digging in is a never-ending process, and I think that works. So, do I believe in praying? I don't know. I believe in meditation. And if that's the same kind of thing, I believe in whatever you need to do to take your mind to a place where you think your soul is at peace, if that means something. So if it's crossing your legs and keeping your back straight, that's one thing. If it's floating in a tank of salt water, that's another thing. It's getting into some sort of meditative state where you are releasing the everyday thoughts in your head and going more into what your whole presence needs, your body, soul, mind, what your whole presence needs. That I believe in. You want to call it prayer, you want to call it whatever, but the pursuit of calming the savage beast, I think, is the best thing.
Well put, Pat. If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
Well, I heard Sean Penn. Sean Penn was asked this question.
Oh, what did he say?
He said, "Hey, man, here's an 8-ball and a couple hookers. Have a great time."
Oh my God!
I say that as my wife walks by.
Yeah. What's your source on that? Like recent Sean Penn, young or?
No, man. I think it was actually the Actors Studio interview. I think.
Oh, James what's his name?
Yeah. James Lipton. Yeah.
Lipton.
Yeah.
A hooker. Wait, a hooker, and what was the other thing you got?
Here's an 8-ball and a couple hookers. Go have a good time.
Okay. Do evil people exist, or does the evil use people as a vehicle?
I don't know, man. See, when you say does evil exist, you're talking about some quality that it's a label to define behavior.
Yeah,
we can all understand. So okay. If you say does evil exist, well, I will say, well, does love, does compassion, does hate, does et cetera, et cetera. So,
well, no, that's a good flip. But actually, the hidden question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
What it puts me in the mind of is the trolling on Facebook or something like this, meaning that I think everybody or most people now are aware of the concept of trolling, meaning I don't care if who's right or wrong. I just enjoy making you uncomfortable and making you go crazy on your keyboard and yelling at me. And I go, look how easy this is. I can get this dude to yell at me. And so in that degree, if you take on their argument, right? If you embrace their argument, you do empower them, because it's not like you're going to change it. And I had this, there was some acquaintance of mine from a long time ago, and he was a right-wing ranter online and stuff. And I go at him a couple times, and I was like, oh, this is not going to make any difference at all to anybody, let alone him. And I'm like, what will make a difference? Let me see if this is. Hey, my brother, I'm sorry, man. I know that your life is tough. I know you've had a lot of loss, and I know that it's made you angry enough to be so hateful to your fellow human being that you got to join this stuff and talk about, denigrating one group or another group because it makes you feel better. I see that now, brother, and I feel for you. I feel sorry for you. I really pity you that your life has brought you to this situation where that you've become this hateful human being. And I'm sorry, and I wish I could do something about that. I'm sorry. And that is when he just
Wow.
what do you call it? Unfriended, disconnected me. Not for the months and months and months that I argued with him and told him how he was wrong, but I just went, oh, yeah, to be this messed up and to be this angry, some shit must have happened to you. I'm sorry about that. That's too bad for you, and I wish it hadn't, and I wish we could have been friends. That's too bad. I feel sorry for you. That made a difference.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's good, Pat, because it carries on. And Nassim Taleb said, games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. And my friend said, villains don't think they're bad. They want control. Heroes want freedom. In fact, Gregory Bateson says, if the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, wow, I did something morally and socially wrong? So it's a lot of prompts, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
I don't know. I don't think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this is up your field, plays, theater.
Hey, hang on a minute, Jerry.
Yeah.
Hey, Murphy. Yeah. Does punishment work? There you go. That's my kid says it depends on the punishment.
Very good. How old is he?
He's 19.
Oh, that's pretty good. Tell him thank you. I want to have him on this for all these questions. Okay. So James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Because we're going there to do that. You don't go out. I mean, okay. So when you're walking outside and I'm going to walk to the store, I see a tree, but I don't embrace it the way I would when I went to a play that was about a tree or had a tree. Oh yeah, I just saw a tree. I'm sorry, I just saw a play where a tree was the focal point of the play.
Yeah.
And meaning, ask your question again.
Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them?
Because when you go to watch something or to see something, you're going to get something. You are going there in order to get something.
Yeah.
Whether it be entertainment or whether it be enlightenment or whether it be to kill time.
Yeah.
You're going there with the purpose of doing that.
Yeah.
And if I'm reading a poem, there's nothing more lovely than a tree. Well, you don't go, well, I knew that. I know trees are beautiful. Why the hell do I have to read this fucking poem about a tree?
That is good. You're brilliant, Pat. I'm really learning a lot. So walk me through your timeline and your tipping points. Did you see theater growing up, like as a kid in grade school, and start doing plays and acting then? Did your parents take you to live theater, movies, and then did you study it in high school and college? And where was like, that's what I want to be. That's my calling, an actor and a director.
That moment? Okay, I have a specific moment, but yes, I will say that when I was a kid, I did plays in the theater and stuff, and I sang in high school in the choir. I was president of the Mask and Gavel Club at in my high school. But when I went to college, I went, well, that's enough of that, because surely, and everybody knows, that a career in entertainment, let alone theater, is just stupid. And it's stupid, and no one should do it. You're going to be broke for the rest of your life, and then there's no, why bother? And actually, I tell people when they say, "Yeah, I'm thinking about going to theater," I said, "Don't. It's stupid." So I was in college, and I was going to be a teacher. I wanted to teach math and physics, actually, and I was studying that. And then it was my senior year, and I was in this class. It's called Algebra for Secondary Educators, and it's not really that. I can't really describe it, what it was. And this is the reason I'm no longer doing it. But I was sitting in that class about a month in, and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. And it was one of those classes, too, where it was midterm final. That was the grade. That was it. So I'm sitting there a month in, just go, I don't know. I have no clue what I'm doing. I started doodling in class. I went, yep, that's it. And I knew that I wasn't going to do that anymore. The only other thing that I had any experience or kind of thought about was going into theater. And so I think that night or the next night, I called my parents, both of them individually, and said, I'm going to do this. And God bless them. Both of them said the exact same thing. They're in two different places because they're divorced. They both said, well, you got to do what you got to do.
Wow.
It's because, the horror stories were you're not going into theater. What are you, crazy? That kind of thing. That's what I was hoping. I was like, oh God, I was expecting that. But fortunately they did it. And that was the point. And then the next semester I started theater classes, and then I just took off.
Yep. So a screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your I'm glad you're laughing. What role does intention play in your creative process as an actor?
Well, it's so funny that you say something like that, because over and over, I think in the endeavor of art, there is no rule.
Yeah.
And I tell my any students that I have, there are many paths to heaven as there are stars in the sky. So pick your way. So because there are some actors that have a process. I just go, Jesus Christ, brother, do you really want to go through all that, or can't you just act?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but so intention. I do think, whether you know it or not, you want to say something, and you're getting up there and you're saying something.
Yeah.
And it's going to communicate a meaning to your audience,
Yeah.
So is intention important? I don't know. I think you want to say something, or else either you want to say something, or that you want to have everybody look at you and go, wow, you are incredible. Those are the two extremes. But I think intention is that thing which will make transform an audience. What you want to say.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say?
Beautiful. Pat, Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much do you think of your viewer, your audience, when you're acting?
When I'm acting?
Well, as an actor, whether it's theater or what else, how much are you thinking of the potential viewer?
Yeah, well, that's the kind of the dichotomy of acting. You have to be aware of, you got to make sure you're turned the right direction so your audience can see you. At the same time, you don't want to do some fake kind of move to turn it as though you can make the audience see you. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not so talking about the position of your body. I'm talking about your sensibility in your creative process as an actor. Duchamp saying there's no art without an audience. Is that an essential ingredient for, not for your payment, your salary, but for your creativeness?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You do it for for that guy, for them. One of the things I think is great is when I'm acting or I do not care about how I feel. And when I'm directing actors, I don't care how they're feeling when they're doing their stuff, whatever I'm asking them to do. I care about how I'm feeling watching it. You know what I mean? Those are the feelings that matter. Because if I'm the director and I'm watching it, I say I want to feel this, because that's what I want the audience to feel. You know, so yeah, I would say yes. I do take it's the audience must be. That's why you're doing it. You're not. If you're doing it by yourself, then you're just a guy sucking wind. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're that guy, Rupert Pumpkin in the basement of King of Comedy, you know, when De Niro's he's doing the talk show and his mother goes, Rupert, what are you doing? He goes, shut up.
Man. I'm trying, I'm working here.
I'm working here. Okay, Pat, here's right up your alley. Ruth Draper said the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. That sounds good, but how do you do it?
Well, they're speaking metaphorically, I guess, but I don't want them up on stage. I don't want them up there. I want them watching what I'm doing up on stage. Yeah, I don't want them up there. I think they mean that metaphorically, like maybe you draw them in, and so that they go away and they're not familiar. They're not aware that they're sitting in the theater. Maybe that's what that person was trying to say. But yeah, man, you want my whole thing with an audience, and you know, it's rare when you get this, but when you do, it's great. Most of the time, people are entertained by what you do.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're enlightened by what you do.
Yeah.
Rare times, they're absolutely transformed by what you do. Like after they saw what you did, their life is different from what it was before they walked into the theater.
Yeah.
And that's rare, but it happens. And I just did a show where it happened a lot because there were people. I did a show called A Transparent Musical at the Taper, and it was about the journey of trans people in life, trying to make it in this life. And it's not a topic necessarily that's talked about that much, or certainly not in popular culture. You know what I mean? So I met a lot of people, a lot of trans people after the show, and you could tell in their eyes they had that thing. They had that thing. I was like, I know that your life's different because it's very sweet, and you say, you know, you could just see them. There's the difference between some person that goes, hey, you were great. You were really good in the play. And you go, thank you. I appreciate it very much. And then there's a person that's like this. I was just great. You know, and you know that difference. You know, you didn't make a difference in their lives. You transformed their experience of living. Frank was big on that too. I had a couple people do that with Joe's Garage, man.
Wow. Very good.
I could just tell it overwhelmed them. And a lot of people really wanted to see that. You know?
Yeah. Dude, that was a really good, you know, I like to make lists, and I like that entertain, enlighten, and transform. That's a good way to break it down. Really good. And here's Leonard Cohen. The only way you can sell a concert is to put yourself at risk. And if you don't do that, people know.
Yeah.
What role does risk play in your creative process?
That's tough, man. I don't know how to answer that. I wish that I felt more vulnerable on stage than I do. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at it. You know what I mean? But I'm also aware that I'm quite the craftsman, and I probably it's the reason where I am is I don't risk enough, and I don't even know what that means or what it looks like necessarily. But I think that the more a person is willing to make themselves vulnerable in performance, meaning that they are that, and you can tell this, you can kind of tell, you can see it with people, that they're sharing themselves in a way that's not just singing a song. They're not just singing a song, they're singing their heart out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like their heart out. That kind of difference. You know. So
Yeah, that's good. And what does courage mean to you now?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I think that there are, you have the courage of some dude walking into a fire with an axe and his hose and everything, and that looks like a monumental moment of courage. But I think that there's a lot of courage in small things where, I don't know, somebody's yelling at somebody on a street, and you could drive by and say, "Oh, those crazy people are having at it," or it takes a lot of courage to stop and say, "Hey, stop treating that person that way."
Yeah.
Small moment of courage that's not going to be celebrated or venerated in the annals of history.
Yeah.
But it's that stuff that's it feels more, I don't know, feels like it's unappreciated courage, I guess.
Pat, where did you get that from? The way your parents raised you or on your own?
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was a function of one or the other or both. So,
But it is a concern for humans. Yeah,
Right.
it's a basic concern. That's beautiful. But Viola Spolin, she invented kind of comedy improv. She's in Chicago being a social worker. You know about her. And she did role playing exercises and spawned Second City and Groundlings and everybody. She says, if the audience cannot see your struggle to achieve something, they cannot root for you to achieve it. What role does struggle play in your creative process?
I don't know, man. A friend of mine said it a while ago. He was a theater guy, and then he got a gig directing some TV. And it's like, if you do this enough, especially back in the old days, it's a lot easier now, but anybody that made any piece of entertainment at all is bravo. Well done. I don't care if it's crap or whatever.
Yeah.
The struggle that it takes to create that piece is, the civilians don't really get it.
Yeah.
It looks a lot easier than it is. So
Yeah.
I think that the struggle is just part of the whole ball game.
Yeah. It's good. And here's McLuhan talking about the difference between education and entertainment in 1957. I'm curious your thoughts. It's misleading to suppose there's any basic difference between education and entertainment. However, it's always been true that whatever pleases teaches more effectively. So you're in the business of entertainment and you're also in the business of education, right? You teach acting and directing. So how do you process those words? Whatever pleases teaches more effectively. Is there a difference between education and entertainment? And how does it work with this whatever pleases teaches more effectively?
I don't know, man. I mean, if you like the music, I guess it's easier for you to want to sit there and dive into the chord progressions. But I think of Brecht and I think of Frank.
Yeah.
And they are people who very much wanted to make you feel uncomfortable about shit so that you would get off of your ass and do something about that shit. So does that work? I don't know. And I don't really know. I don't really know if making you making your experience pleasant is one thing, but making you uncomfortable can move you as well. So,
yeah.
I don't know how to answer
It's a great question, Pat. And it's really the essence of what I'm saying is it's an unanswerable question. Sidney Lumet said he made socially aware films. He said, films can't do diddly squat, but it ain't going to keep me from trying. And, you come up with something like Dog Day Afternoon. Dog Day Afternoon has an impact. And what kind of impact? But here's the other thing that Breck, I love that Breck hung out in the Pacific Palisades and said, I don't want art that puts you in a trance. I want art that activates you. It's like, yeah, but some art that puts you in a trance could eventually lead to activating you. But the way he worded it was much like what you're saying. Frank didn't go, I want to make art that will get you off your ass. No, people say, I want my titties and I want my beer. That sounds like, airhead, beer drinking rock and rollers. They don't care about voting, but indeed he'd slip it in on the side.
Yeah, it's weird because then you have that what I would call the mistaking shit. What am I trying to say? Randy Newman, right?
Oh yeah.
You with me? Yeah, okay. So Randy Newman wrote this song called Rednecks, right?
Yeah.
Redneck, I'm a redneck, right? And it was a condemnation of rednecks, right? In his saying and describing who he was, playing this character of a redneck in his song, he is exposing that for satire, right?
Yeah.
He said he had to stop playing it in his concerts because rednecks took it on and embraced it as a theme.
Yeah.
As an anthem for them.
Yeah.
And that's why he stopped. And I remember too, the movie Glenn Ross?
Yes.
Or David Mamet. Well, to me, the play and the movie are this is the evil that men do to each other.
Yeah.
This is what they're capable of. This is a story of evil. And I was in a bar in Chicago waiting for my wife to get done, and she worked near Rush Street, the party street down in Chicago. And there were a couple of young dudes sitting at the end of the bar talking about the movie, and they were talking about Alec Baldwin, and go, that's who I want to be. That's the dude, man. And I'm sitting there going, my God, you've missed the entire point of this. Yeah. And so it's like, taking Darth Vader and going, Darth Vader. Yeah, there's the, wouldn't it be great to be like him? Like, really? That's the embodiment of evil. So.
But Pat, that's once the artist creates their art, that's no longer theirs. The user can do whatever they want because John Waters rooted for the Wicked Witch of the West. And look at what and nobody rooted for that, but he turned out sort of good in a way.
Can you believe it, Jerry? I was driving around today, and you know how vilified John Waters was when he popped onto the scene back in the 70s and stuff. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is venerating him, and they're putting up signs, and there's an exhibit at the museum, I think, about John Waters.
Big time.
Yeah.
But it's also, this is what you gave as a good example of Tim Robbins when he released Bob Roberts, the right-wing Bob Dylan film he made. And he said, I will not let the soundtrack be released. And it's like, so what? They can walk in the theater, record it on their cassette machine and play it on their right-wing radio. But he wanted to make this point. I don't want this, you don't have any control. But that's like, leads perfectly into what was the motive of the cave artist. What's your hunch or guess?
Oh, wow. I know that. do you know that? Steely Dan, right?
Yeah.
The Caves of Altamira. You know that song?
Yeah.
Before the fall, when they wrote it on the wall, when there wasn't even any Hollywood, they'd heard it all. So they wrote it on the wall so you and me could be understood.
Wow.
That sums it up pretty well.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love when we can quote lyrics to answer our questions. You know,
Right.
I mean, and everybody know, well, you probably know where the name Steely Dan came from.
I do indeed. Whose morality are we talking about?
Okay, so I talked to Michael Apted 40 years ago. I said, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? Most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922 in France, but in the 80s it flourished because of MTV, to the point where Marty Scorsese says, I cut my films faster because of MTV. Well, Mike Lapded said, we've learned to take in information faster. So I asked this question with a bias. Can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
I don't know. I would think that we are able to take information faster because, yeah, I've gone back to watch older movies, and a lot of times I'm like, come on, I get it. Why are they spending so much time looking at this thing here? Yeah. At the same time, I love modern movies, modern pieces that slow down.
Yeah.
If they're good, it's got to be full of stuff. I mean, I just saw one thing called Marriage with Sean Bean and some English lady. It's called Marriage. It's a mini series. Slow as hell, but everything is so full. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if I could get my kids to watch it, but it's a fascinating movie. And I'm trying to think. Foxcatcher came out a couple of years ago with Steve Carell playing the rich guy who had the wrestling team.
Yeah.
One of those guys, yeah. And it was a slow, well-paced movie. Wasn't very popular, but was critically acclaimed, as it should be. But again, my point is, it was a slow-moving movie, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I go back and watch some early movies from the 60s and 70s maybe, and they're slow moving, and I'm going, come on already, come on.
Yeah.
Meaning that the language, I think I'm going along with Scorsese's thing here, the language of film and how they had to set up long establishing shots or indulge in moments that felt right back then don't work now, or necessarily. I think some do, some don't, because of the change of our sensibility, but some do because they're just damn good art. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, some people had trouble with Tree of Life by Malick, and others said, no, that's good. It's like slow cinema, Telebar, or Tarkovsky's the king of slow cinema. But the hidden question really, Pat, is it literally possible for humans to multitask?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that you could only do one thing at a time. Because if I say, what are you doing now? Then you're going to answer me instantaneously, no matter how many things you may be doing over the half hour. If I ask you at any moment, you'll tell me instantaneously that thing which you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. That for me is the answer to. That's why we can't do. Again, it's why we can't. Oops, shit. Sorry, I lost you. That's why we can't multitask. I'm still looking at you.
Okay. You're still there, but it's amazing. You evoked the Wyndham Lewis line that goes, artists live in the present and write a detailed history of the future. So that's like be here now. live here in the moment. So why do we have to collect or gather or archive when we're living in the present? So I'm doing a project right now researching archiving. So you have boxes of your stuff, your history of your creative output in your house, I'm sure. Does it mean anything to you that they go to a proper archive, or you're just saying to your kids and wife, hey, do whatever you want after I die? Have you have any plan with your archive? And do you think archiving is more innate or more invented?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't more innate or more inventive.
Yeah, like Egyptians put stuff in their coffin with them. Why? I mean, if you know, is that matter? Like even Frank says, it doesn't matter what I'm thought of. Well, I think Frank was knowing he was being embracing the contradiction because he was a major archivist. I mean, he really organized his archives deeply, but it was for the act of creating art was stuff that he had made in the past to make art. So, you know, it even came up. There's a distinct line where he's asked, in the Grand Wazoo Orchestra tour, you recorded all that stuff. Will it ever come out? And he says, nope, it didn't come out good. And then they released it. So did they disobey him? Yes. And did they disobey Emily Dickinson and Kafka? Yes. They said, burn this shit after I'm dead. Do not release it. So, I mean, it's this idea of, do you want your legacy to be respected on what you've created in your lifetime by going into some theater archive or university, or it doesn't matter to you? What's your personal feelings?
I think it would be nice. It would be nice, but it doesn't really matter to me.
But have you done any steps to find an archive?
No.
Yeah.
Nope. I got my reviews in a book and pictures in a book somewhere.
Yeah.
And I did that because I got, it was very helpful in making a website. But other than that, my friends and family, my family don't even care. I said, hey, look at the show I did back in the.
Right.
I think it might be passively interesting to my grandchildren if I have any.
Yeah. Well, YouTube will never shut down, so your grandkids can watch this someday.
Maybe so, right?
If you believe that, I got some swampland just off the coast. I'll sell you cheap. So, Godard, we touched on this, but I'm really curious, Pat, because you're so dang articulate, and I appreciate you being a deep thinker, but you often go, I don't know. I love that because you do know and you have hunches and guess, but you're not willing. You're still willing to go, You know, I interviewed this great poet. I interviewed this great poet in LA once, and every answer was, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I says, come on, just give me your guess.
Sure. Well, a lot of times I'm really stuck for an answer, you know.
Well, that's what I mean. You're being sincere, but you're not feeling like I'm trying to put you on the spot. That's why. I mean, you're going along with this. I respect you for that. So here's Jean-Luc Godard told Michael Moore at the Cannes Film Festival, Fahrenheit 9/11. This film is going to help Bush get elected. Now, it didn't help Bush get elected per se, but it galvanized pro-Bush people. So we've had this slew of documentaries, and Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert, Satire News. Does this slew of documentaries and satire news more activate people or more pacify them?
That's a good question. I don't think it makes that much of a difference in the way that because of the way that we get stuff delivered to us. Jon Stewart, his last show, was great because he said, let's see what kind of difference we've made. and he was laying out a bunch of stuff, like he was critical, pointing out a hypocrisy, and then something else later happened that seemed to have no bearing or wasn't enlightened by his whatever he exposed. And the whole thrust of his last show was, we really didn't make that much of a difference to those that we would have liked to make a difference to. I think it made his audience feel better about how they felt.
Yeah.
And that probably made them more articulate about how they felt.
Yeah.
But if that didn't make the kind of difference that I would hope that he wanted to make in the body politic, I don't think so. Because, soon after he was off the air, we got Trump. So,
yeah, there's a great anti-war woman. She protested in Bush's front yard. Cindy, I can't think of her last name, but she said, we're talking to the choir, and there ain't even a choir. It's like, oh my, but there's an article I could send you, but it's amazing, saying that Jon Stewart spawned Tucker Carlson, because pre-Jon Stewart, people weren't getting, Walter Cronkite, they weren't getting 25 mil to put out the news. They were just, we're a news organization. We don't put it out as entertainment, though we know there's elements of, Peter and Dan and Walter being entertainment.
Yeah, sure.
But they weren't so entertaining as Jon Stewart. And then it spawned Tucker Carlson. It's like, uh-oh. He doesn't have any control. I think Jon Stewart was well intended, but this is what happened. Like you just said, then we get Trump.
It's and same kind of thing. Did Obama create the Trump presidency when he took Trump to lunch at the correspondence dinner?
Yeah.
And he slayed him. He slayed him, opened him up as a buffoon.
Yeah.
And was that the straw that moved Trump into the I'm going to be president?
Yeah.
I'll shoot that guy.
Yeah. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
Well, yeah. I guess it's from where you speak. If I'm speaking about me, I would say my conviction is more important. If I'm talking to you, I would say your compromise with my conviction is more important.
Yeah. Pat, you've accomplished
thing. That's like that old thing. If you get hurt, that's funny. If I get hurt, it's tragic.
Yeah. That's Mel Brooks. That's it took 25 years of asking that question. That's my oldest question. I got it from Christy McKenna. What's more important, conviction or compromise? A welfare lawyer, 25 years into asking this question. He's a lawyer on welfare. He says, depends on what you mean by important. Because everybody uses the words conviction or compromise as the essence of the question. He shifted the whole thing, Yeah,
that's good.
Then I got to admit, my other favorite was these 9 and 10-year-old boys. I says, what's more important, conviction or compromise? They go, those words are too big for us.
That's great. That's great.
Okay, your observations of humans in general, is ambition based more on fear or joy?
Fear.
That's the right answer. You got it right. Now, your accomplishments. Now, I shifted this question. I'll tell you why after you answer. In your accomplishments, how do you rate these 3 elements? Luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
Skill, luck, ambition.
That's good. So Friedkin, about a year or 2 ago, he put out his book, The Director of Exorcist. He says, in Hollywood, skill and luck have nothing to do with it. It's all ambition.
Yeah. Well,
so then I
will say this. Like I said, there's many roads to heaven as there are stars in the sky.
Yeah.
I know very talented people with no ambition who have not succeeded. I know very mediocre talented people who have gotten rised up solely on their dogged ambition.
Yeah.
So, I know for me,
Yeah.
I know for me that I could use a lot more ambition. I could have
Yeah.
used a lot more.
Yeah. For what reason? So what? You get a couple more enemies or whatever, or more money, or you get, if you got more money, then you know what you do? You'd have to think about spending it.
Gee, I would love to have that experience once I die.
Really? Or are you being satirical? I mean, it's a funny.
Yeah, I would have liked to have made more money.
Yeah. Okay, you know what the Rossellini just said? I read this quote: "The poorer you are, the more free you are."
Yeah, my brother-in-law hates possessions, hates being tied down.
Yeah.
He's very, very much doesn't have things.
Yeah.
Because of that, ties down.
T.S. Eliot said, "Poetry is outing your inner dialogue." What language is your inner dialogue in?
English.
Metaphorically, what form is your inner consciousness in?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get the question.
That's all right. Two of my film heroes have this mantra: ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas says, "There is no self-expression." And Cecil Taylor, jazz pianist, says, "I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me." Is art making more self-expression, or more you're a vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
Yeah, but you're part of the culture, environment, and technologies that are. I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it what? What's the choice?
Are you more a vehicle, or is it more self-expression?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it's. I think it's different for the collaborative arts, because I would say somebody with a paintbrush, is in a canvas. That's more about their self-expression. Me directing Frank with a third party of actors and technicians and musicians, we are directly taking from an old thing and using old instruments and an old technique, and the culture that we were of theater that we were raised in to do this. Now, it doesn't mean that I can't be inventive and be, astound you with my brilliant theatrical inventiveness. But I can't make the blanket statement for all art.
Yeah. It's funny, Pat, because one woman once said, "Well, is it more this or more that?" She goes, "The word more doesn't function in your question." Because of course it's both. But the bottom line question, the real hidden question, Pat, is, can art making be egoless?
Oh, yes, it can be. Can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those dudes I just saw a few months ago. Did you ever see the Zen dudes with the sand?
Yeah.
See that? They sit there for hours, days, months, creating this incredibly intricate design out of grains of colored sand.
Yeah.
And then when they're all done, throw it all away. And it hurt me watching it. I felt for that dude's ego when it happened, but he seemed fine. He seemed fine about it. Yeah. So is it possible? I want to say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's funny.
It's not to be airy-fairy about this, but it's like it's nice to get kudos, and it's nice to have people tell you how great you are and how great they thought your work was. But it's for the suckers out there, man. It's out for the poor bastards who are sitting in the house watching, and that's what it's all about. I'm for the audience having a great experience. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a year ago, a woman said, "Can art be egoless?" She says, "Yes, it has to be egoless. It must be egoless." And it's not has to, because it's again, how you determine what the word egoless means.
Yeah.
Like one guy said, "Oh, do you mean ego in a bad way?" Like
Right.
egotistical. I like the question, was Freud right? Because it
Well,
depends on what you mean by ego, but it is, does that actor leave themselves and let this character come through them, and they don't show you who they are as a real human being? I mean, they can't do that, can they? Can an actor do that?
yeah.
Abandon themselves,
Yeah. Yeah, because there are times on stage. That was this famous story about Olivier doing, I think it was Hamlet or something. I don't know. It's on stage and he comes off stage and the crowds are going crazy. And it's after the show and Olivier's just brooding over in a corner after this great performance. And somebody comes up to him and he goes, "Dude, why are you so upset? This is like one of the greatest performances you've ever given. What is your problem?" He says, "Yes, I know, but I don't know why." And I'm thinking, well, if to have a why, then you've got to have the ego answering the whys,
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. You get in that, and every performing artist, I think, has experienced this at one point or in their life or another, where you're not conscious of the notes or the audience or the thing. You're just kind of there, and you're saying that, "Oh, you are the vessel." You know what I mean? That experience. Marvin Gaye said it about what's going on. He said he just wasn't there. He just wasn't there. It just kind of happened. So yeah, I think it can happen. I think it's I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but it can happen.
Yeah, that Olivier, is that elements of humility and vulnerability? Like he's feeling he needs to explain. It reminded me of Sonny Rollins goes backstage after the concert and he keeps playing. And the band members go, "Dude, we're done." He goes, "I'm still trying to work things out." I mean, to me, that's like that's the purest. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the purest form. But what you said about Olivier, is that humility, vulnerability, or something else?
Well, I think he was pissed, anger. I want to know why I do it so that every fucking night I can have that.
Wow.
I think he was pissed. He was pissed at himself that he couldn't get it. Yes, I've had that same kind of question, like, why did this night work and why do I suck tonight? Or why am I not as good tonight? And you can't, you really shouldn't afford yourself the conversation while you're in the play itself or whatever. But I've definitely indulged in that conversation afterward. God, why was it? Remember Tuesday? Oh, it was so great. Why can't I get that? Oh, yeah. The main emotion I think that's coming out of that guy was anger. Right? Can't get my hands on it.
Yeah. But that seems as though he is finding the root of the success of that night, and he wants to like be able to tap back into that every time.
Yeah.
He does it. It reminds me also of Willie Mays hit 4 home runs in one game, and he was sick on pea soup. And Lily Tomlin had the best show of her life ever, and she was sick. And maybe that illness caused them to push harder. They're trying to find Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just like the Michael Jordan flu game. I don't know if you know about that.
Tell me. Yeah.
There was Michael Jordan. You know who he was, right? Is great. One of the greatest basketball players of all time is playing in the playoffs, and he got the flu or food poisoning or whatever. But he was visibly ill, and he played the game, and he had one of the best games of his entire career. Just look up the flu game of Michael Jordan. It'll tell you all about it. But same kind of thing.
It is. It is. It's that they push, and then they're like, "Oh, well, now I got to win this World Series game. I better eat the pea soup, and get sick again, so I can hit 4 home runs in one game again." It's like, is that become the formula? No, you don't do that. I learned from that. Now I got to tap into that. Well, Pat, I asked for 90 minutes and it's 90. So I only got through some of my questions. So I hope we can schedule a part 2. It can be 2, 3, 4 months down the line, because I would love to talk more about acting and definitely delve into the Zappa experience of you directing Joe's Garage. So if you don't mind, I'll end this part 1 with this question, and then we'll schedule a part 2 if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this one is perception reality?
I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you What's reality, man? What do you mean, bro? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, because every individual has their own experience about life. I mean, you and I won't even see the same. The color that you call green ain't going to be the thing that I see when I see green. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the reality, I don't know. I know not to walk in front of cars because the reality is I'll be hit. So there's that. But the reality, as far as what's objectively real, I don't know how to talk about that.
Yeah. No, it was good. Yeah. So what is your 19-year-old son's name?
Murphy.
Oh, Murphy. Well, tell Murphy I'm serious. I want to have him on my podcast. And I like that you asked him, the great satirist comedian Paul Krasner. I've interviewed him. I interviewed him like 5 times, and he asked a lot of questions like this over the years. And one time it was here in my house, and his wife was with him, and he would turn to his wife and he'd go, "How should I answer that?" And then she would say something like, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, "I'm not going to say that." So I love that little divert in the middle where you yell to your son. Does punishment work? That was classic. Tell him his answer was very well done.
I will. I shall, indeed. I was thinking, I wanted to mention to you, I noticed you go to quotes from philosophers and poets and thinkers all the time. Take a deep dive into Einstein's philosophy. I don't know how far you've gone into that.
I made a note because I mentioned the Einstein quote in a podcast I did earlier today about the problem and the solution. And it's right on my notes. When it has a circle G, it means I've got to Google it so I get that quote. Yeah. No, I like Einstein's are great, because the flip of that problem and solution, I think his is something like the solution is in the problem or something like that. And
well, here you go.
Yeah.
In the light of knowledge attained, the happy achievement is almost a matter of course. But it is the hours, and I'm going to butcher this last part, but it's the hours spent in the pursuit, the struggle, the slime crawling through the mud. That's what makes life. And it's like basically he's saying it's the journey, not the destination.
Yeah. Okay, so let's not end on that. Let's end with one more bonus, because you said that. But first, I got to tell you, I love the Duchamp quote that goes, "There's no solution because there's no problem." So as soon as you go, "We have a problem here," it's like the Marx Brothers. They go, "Something went wrong." He goes, "We got to think," and he goes, "We already tried that."
We already tried it. It's not working.
Yeah. But this is perfect, better end than is perception reality for part 1. So Louis Buñuel says, "I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it."
Yes. Was that his?
Now that's real. 90%, 99% of people go, oh, I agree with that. And one guy goes, no, that's bullshit. Because if I'm going to pursue something, it's because I want to find it. So then I morphed it into the question, which you anticipated with your ESP, is if the journey is more important than the destination, why do we have to name or seek a destination?
To make us grow.
Yeah.
It's that Olympians have this problem. You won the gold medal, and now what?
And now what? Yeah.
And a lot of them get lost and depressed and can't function because their life was pursuing the gold medal. And now that they have it, that's the thing I've always thought about revolutionaries or the Contras or whatever else, or the Sums who's going to fight. They're going to fight against the power. They're going to overthrow that government. And they're so involved in military and fighting that once they win, well, now you have to do something completely different. That's called govern. But they're used to the fist, so they're still stuck in it.
No, you anticipated the question we'll start part 2 with. That is the perfect, but it is this. The funny thing is about your destination. I love how you have anecdotes, stories. You flush out the answer with by telling a narrative, a story. Like in the gold medal winner, what do I do now? It's like the person, Tracy Chapman, her first albums they hit, and then it's like, how are you going to ever do anything else after that? So that is it's called flaneur or psychogeography. It's flaneurs were the people in France in the 1920s who just sat at the coffee houses and didn't do anything, but they changed the world forever. Joyce, Stravinsky, Picasso, they just sat there and chilled out. They didn't do anything. They didn't have they didn't have pursuits per se. I know that it's not really well worded what I'm saying, but it's basically you can have no destination to name and you cannot seek a destination. But we're sort of driven to think, well, that's the focus.
Right.
But sometimes you stumble upon it, So it's the form content problem, Are we living theater or are we making theater? Yeah, this was a very good play. I'm going to write it up for what's the hottest theater magazine in LA? What's it called?
Oh God, is there a theater? I don't know anymore, man. They're all dying away. The theater magazine
or whatever it was, Stage something, or I'm going to write up my interview with Pat was one of the greatest theater pieces ever. Better than what you see at the Taper.
Right. You're not seeing Jack at the Taper anymore. I closed the Taper. I don't know if you've heard.
What do you mean, Jack? You're not seeing Jack Nicholson?
No. Jack is in Jack shit. There's nothing going on at the Taper now because they're on pause.
Yeah. Oh, because of the strike. Yeah.
No. The Mark Taper Forum
closed because why?
Well, because there are a number of reasons. Some of the many I heard was they're overextended. That combined with the post-COVID phenomenon of not as many people are returning to the theater as they did. Also, their subscriber base is going down. Yeah. And all of this just kind of ran up to this point. And they're not unique. Oregon Shakespeare Festival's having troubles. Looking Glass in Chicago. Steppenwolf in Chicago cut some staff. The Public Theater in New York is having trouble. So this is a phenomenon that's happening all over the country. So.
Well, Pacific's Residence Theater in Venice is still going. Thank God. Thank God for Orson Bean starting this.
Right? Is he still around? Is Orson Bean still
No.
around? I was going to say, I thought he passed away recently.
He
Yeah,
died.
right.
He got hit by a car in front of the theater.
No way. Is that how he died?
Twice. He got hit once and then another car hit him. And then Allie Mills, his wife, runs out and falls on his body dead on Venice Boulevard.
No.
But I got to tell you this because you know the big picture. Orson Bean was such a great character in Venice. I mean, I could run into him in the grocery store. He's like 95 and we'd tell jokes and he was really funny. So he told this joke his whole career. The guy gets hit by a car and he's in the hospital and the wife runs in. How's my husband? The doctor goes, oh, I got bad news. He's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life. You're going to have to take care of him. And the wife starts to cry and the doctor hits her and goes, I was just kidding. He's dead. Now, when Allie falled on Orson dead on the street in front of his theater, how long did it take for that joke to go through her head and go, dude, you fucking predicted? She knew that joke inside and out because he said all his jokes for 50 years. Did she go, you fucking predicted and brought your death by telling that joke? Or she said, thank God this liberated you and you didn't get COVID or Trump. Or no, he wasn't Trump. But you know, you died before COVID, dude. You're free. Yeah. But he also said, you guys are just waiting around for me to die so you can fuck my wife.
Hilarious.
Yeah, but it is funny because Pacific Resident is back open having theater. They're doing Harold Pinner and blah, blah, blah. So it's a beautiful time together with you, Pat. I really appreciate this. And I look forward into talking about acting. And again, you can book it January, February, March down the road, and we'll rejoin a fun, enlightening time. It was truly your 3 E's: entertaining, enlightening, and transforming. Thank you so much.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it, Jerry.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the end broadcast, but I hope we can keep